I studied part-time for my PhD for 7 years. That's a long time. But I think that I can distill the fundamental elements of what I learned into 7 things in 7 minutes. The topic of my thesis was mentor development, but I think that these things really apply to teacher development too. You want to know what they are? Keep listening. I'm Jo Gakonga, Dr. Jo Gakonga from elttraining.com. I make online teacher training material, and my PhD was all about a program that I devised to help teachers to develop their skills as mentors. If you want the full lowdown, including the thesis, then you can check out my free mentor resources on the website. But here's a whistle-stop tour to maybe whet your appetite. Are you ready? Here we go. Number 1. At number 1, I found that an effective way for mentors to develop their skills is to put them in a practical situation where they can actually mentor somebody in an authentic way and reflect on what they're doing. Lev and Wenger call this legitimate peripheral participation, and it's very powerful. In my study, I got experienced teachers doing an MA TESOL to mentor other students on the same course who hadn't taught before and record themselves doing it. So this brings me on to point number 2. Reflection is more effective when it's evidence-based and collaborative. This means that you can't just look back and try and remember what you did or said. You actually need to record it. Video or just audio. I had just audio recordings in my study. So you need to then listen back to it and probably even transcribe it. Otter.ai makes this very easy, and ideally talk about it with other people in a group. The work that really resonated with me on this and started me thinking about it was Mann and Walsh's paper that's called RP or RIP. Point number 3. I think you can see the aspects of mentoring as a triangle of emotional support, support with ideas or resources, and support with reflection. These are all important, of course, and there's overlap between them. But what's interesting is that the issues that arose for mentors on my programme, and also for the mentors that I read about in the literature, seem to stem from 2 tensions between these elements. Number 4. I put emotional support at the top of the triangle because I think that without a rapport with the person that you're trying to mentor, you won't be able to help them at all. But the first tension was between being a supportive friend, an ally, if you like, to your mentee, and then the bottom end of the triangle, which is having a teaching role. I think this is potentially a problem when the mentor has an assessing role as well as a supporting one. So think of a CELTA tutor, for example, or a cooperating teacher in a school practicum for a trainee teacher. But even in the case where there was no evaluation, as in my study, no evaluation was involved, this problem still often reared its ugly head. So the usual issue was that the teaching role could easily get in the way of the supportive role. And there's lots of evidence in the literature of this too. I found Hobson and Maldarez's work on judge mentoring here quite interesting. I guess there's also a potential problem here where the mentor is only supportive and doesn't actually help very much in a pedagogical way. But I didn't see this so much in my data. The second tension, and this was a big one, the issue that was most problematic actually for the mentors in my study, and something that comes up again and again in the literature, is getting the balance right between facilitating reflection and giving advice, between asking and telling, between allowing someone to find their own path or showing them yours. So getting this right, I think, is a real skill. Every situation is different. If you're mentoring someone with little experience, then practical tips are going to be really helpful. And there are some aspects of teaching that do seem more helpful than others. If time is short, then telling is quicker than asking or eliciting too. But just as with any teaching, if you just talk at someone, you have no idea whether or not they've understood. And you're also not allowing them the chance to find the answers for themselves, answers that will work for them. Feynman Nemtz's work on educative mentoring was really influential to me on this one. And she reports on an expert mentor who says there's a central tension between encouraging personal expression and maintaining professional accountability. I also really love this quote from Ravitch and Worth on the same theme. They say that you have to navigate the practical and ideological spaces between facilitating change and not imposing beliefs and values. Number 6. Following on from that last point, the big problem for my mentors was that they dominated the conversation, or they tended to. They wanted to help, they wanted to give advice, and they didn't give their mentees a chance to contribute. Because of this, the thing they found really helpful was to be aware of not talking so much, of listening more, of allowing mentees to talk, and a big part of that was developing the skill of asking good questions, preparing those questions, open, helpful questions, to point the way and open up a conversation, but allowing for a conversation about it, not pushing them into a particular corner. Another technique that often worked well when they were giving feedback on a lesson was playing back parts of a video recording of that lesson so that the mentee could see the issue. A real inspiration for this was Backer's work on stimulated video recall. Finally, point number 7, I'm nearly done and I'm probably running out of time too. I think I became more and more aware over time, and I probably started from this point anyway, is that there's no one right way to be a mentor, no best practice, just like there's no one right way to be a teacher. So Prabhu's paper I think is really eloquent on this, and I also love John Fancelow's quote that giving advice on what we do in any situation implies that one set of practices is consistently superior to another, and we know what needs to be done in each distinct setting. I think you'll agree that this is rarely, if ever, true. What I do think is that learning about different aspects of mentoring gives you a range of tools. It gives you options so that you can choose ways of mentoring that are appropriate to you and to your mentee and to the environment that you're working in. So that's it. I think I stayed just about within the time limit, and I hope that some of these ideas resonate with you and give you a bit of food for thought. Thanks very much for watching.